Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome on in. Welcome back to my channel. Hopefully you guys are all having a fantastic day today. Today, I'm going to be talking about and showing you guys an overview of the build that I've been working on that's called Marksman's Spite. That is the name of this build. That's what I'm calling it because the main gun that we're using here is the Ruby Spite, and I'll go more into what the build does, but it's all about gun damage, fire rate, super quick reloads, super fast movement speed. It's the Marksman's Spite build. This build has seen many iterations over the last few weeks. I've been building it since I hit level 40, and I finally feel like it's in a really comfortable place to be showing you guys, as I'm sure you guys saw from the footage in the beginning of the video. This build can absolutely destroy things. On Chaos 35, it is a monster build. You don't really have to worry about damage, you don't have to worry about anything, because this build will just freaking annihilate things. So before we go ahead and jump into the build, I do just want to say, if you guys are new here, go ahead and click that little like button down below. It helps me out greatly with the YouTube algorithm. Also, feel free to hit that subscribe button on your way out, so that way you guys can watch any future videos that I post. And to make sure you don't miss any of those future videos, click that little bell notification as well. On top of that, if you guys want to come and hang out with us on Twitch, we do have an amazing community of people over there you guys can come in and hang out with. We'd love to have you over there. Link will be in the description down below. And final thing, if you guys do really like my content and like my personality, my vibes, and everything that I present to you guys in these videos, you guys can go down in the description down below and find my Patreon link. You guys can support my channel for as little as $5 a month or more if you guys really like my content, but it helps me out greatly. You guys can earn some awesome perks there as well. So, without further ado, let's jump into the build. So the first thing we're going to go over, and it'll all make sense once we look at the skill tree and everything like that, is the weapons and gear that we're using. Now, just to warn you guys, this build is not fully 100% min-maxed optimized with full volatiles or primordials. That's not what this build is. I've still got things that are not even chaotic. I've still got tons of items that aren't even chaotic, so you can imagine how good this build could be when I fully get everything chaotic or volatile or primordial eventually over time. But this build is focused around gun damage, reload speed, and fire rate, movement speed, those kind of things. So from the footage you saw, you can see that we move crazy fast, we can summon a ton of spells, we reload super fast, and we have an insane fire rate. Like, that's what this build is all about. If that sounds fun to you, this is the build for you. So like I said earlier, the main focus of this build is my baby, my Ruby's Spite. I'm gonna flex a little bit here that I got a primordial Ruby's Spite. This is, oh my god, I got this on stream the other day, and I was freaking out. My other Ruby Spite was a chaotic Ruby Spite, and my chat had pledged $100 on a dare to make me drop it off a cliff. Chat pledged $100 for me to drop my burgeoning Ruby's Spite of the Peak. My baby, my main damage gun, off a cliff. F's in chat for Ruby. Bye. Bye, Ruby. Bye. So I then spent the next day and a half farming non-stop chaos chambers to actually get a new Ruby, and this thing dropped. A primordial Ruby with fire rate, melee damage, and on the bottom there you can see it has 3% increased damage for each crossbolt stuck in the target. So that's this, as far as I'm concerned, is a god roll Ruby Spite for this build. And now our melee weapon that we're choosing to use for this build is a peg leg. So the peg leg here that we have is a volatile peg leg, and you can see the legendary effect of the peg leg says melee attacks increase movement speed by 30% and reload speed by 40% for 10 seconds. So your melee will not actually be your main damage source. You're using the melee to proc extra effects. So you're going to be kind of every now and then tapping enemies with the peg leg to kind of increase your movement speed or get your reload speed up and all that stuff like that. Plus, in the skill tree I'll show you guys later on, we do have some extra effects that get added onto it whenever you melee. So you want to be every now and then just thwapping enemies with the peg leg to get as many bonuses as you can. Echo is insane for this build because basically every melee attack it will deal 10% of all of the non-melee damage you've dealt over the last 10 seconds. So in this build, we've gotten echoes to proc for like 200,000 just for like every now and then thwapping enemies over the head with our peg leg. We'll take out chunks of their health for like 200,000. It's awesome. Get echo. It's amazing. So that is the melee item we're using here. Perfectly synergizes with the build. We've got plus 20% melee damage on there as well. You can realistically get any element on these things as you want. So then we've also got a chaotic Shark's Bane. This ring is really, really good. This is a really good ring for this build. So we've got 34% gun damage on there, dark magic efficiency, and action skill cooldown rate. And then the legendary effects are on critical hit, the ring's effectiveness is increased 25% for a short duration, and you deal 57% increased damage to land shark enemies. So not only are we getting a 34%, almost a 1/3 boost of our gun damage from this, but the ring's effectiveness, every crit that we get, which is all the time, is being increased by 25% for a short duration. So basically, the ring is being improved by 25% all the time because we're hitting non-stop crits. Like, our crit chance is huge, so we're hitting constant crits. And so on top of that, we're also dealing 57% extra damage to land shark enemies. So if you ever fight Chums, you're going to shred him in like 2 seconds. It's insane. The next ring that we're using is really good, but I didn't get a volatile or chaotic version of this ring, but I kept it because it's really just like the best ring that we've gotten besides the Shark's Bane, right? So it's 15% gun damage, 15% ability crit chance, which isn't really, that's a dead attribute there because we just used from the shadows, but you've got 12.5% for pistol crit damage and 12.5% for SMG crit damage. So if you want to use an SMG with this build, if you find something like this with the SMG crit damage, or if you want to use the pistol crit damage for the Ruby Spite, you can do that. That's why our pistol crit damage hits so hard, is because we're using 12.5% there. And the legendary effect of the ring says while our ward is not full, the effects are increased by 100%. So that 12.5% becomes a 25% chance for all of those. That 15% up there becomes a 30% gun damage. So basically we're getting 34% here and 30% here whenever our ward is not full. So our gun damage is being massively increased here. The next item we're going to go over is the Cursed Wit. I could not get a chaotic or volatile Cursed Wit to drop. I couldn't. I don't know. My luck is terrible. So we've got the Cursed Wit here. If you guys don't know what this one does, basically what it'll do is while your ward is depleted, you gain 17% damage reduction, and you gain 100% increased damage dealt to nearby enemies. It will double your damage against nearby enemies. It's insane. Whenever you have the Cursed Wit depleted, whenever your shields go down, you can feel that massive increase of damage. It's so good. You can shred things without the Cursed Wit, but if you have a Cursed Wit, it's a really good one to use. The other one you can swap this Cursed Wit out for, let me see if I can find it real quick, is this one. If you have a body rune, this is another good one to go for, because what the body rune will do is whenever you kill an enemy, it will restore 15% of your maximum health and deal 20% bonus fire damage for a short duration. So if you're feeling extra squishy with this build, if you're trying it out and you're feeling squishy, get yourself a body rune, slap it on there, and get a good enchantment like I have there. While health is full, you gain 25% extra gun damage and 25% crit damage. So the enchants help a lot, and the body rune will help you be less squishy. So the next item we're going to go over is my class armor. I don't know about you guys, but I literally cannot find good class armor. This game seems to think that I'm a Graveborn some days. Other days, this game seems to think that I'm a Spore Warden. Other days, it seems to think I'm a Clawbringer or Brr-Zerker. Like, it thinks I'm everything besides what I am. So this is the best that I could do for any class armor, although this class armor is damn near perfect. If I got this class armor as chaotic or volatile, we'd keep it. It's amazing. It does really good for what we want. So you can see here that it has +1 to Spell Sniper, +1 to Double Knot, and +3 to 1,000 cuts. So I'm not using Double Knot besides that 1 point there. You can see we're at 1 out of 3. So we don't utilize Double Knot really at all. That's not really what we're using here. If you found a class mod with a +2 or even a +3, I don't know if they have a +3 Double Knot class item, but if you found one with that, your damage might be even higher, might not be. We're not really utilizing Double Knot here at all. And we've got +25% ability damage. That is another dead attribute. The legendary effect is really good here because of one other thing right next to us, is we're using the Buffmeister. So we're using a Buffmeister, and you don't have to. If you guys do not want to use a Buffmeister, you don't have to, but it is really, really good for this build. So because we've got a poison Buffmeister here that will be constantly applying the dot effects to things, our armor here giving us that poison status effect damage, that 550 explosion damage on the 15% chance, is actually really good. We're going to be proccing that all the time. So that's our spell, is a Buffmeister here. You can swap this out for one like this, a fortifying sigil spell. So you get the increased 20% damage and 8% health regen when you're inside the bubble. You can swap it out for this and do just as good. This build is not reliant on a Buffmeister. I just like the Buffmeister because it really synergizes with what we're going for here. So if you don't mind using a Buffmeister, you're going to want to look out for the Pew and Zap version here. So Zap and Pew are the two that you're going to want to look out for, because Zap is spell damage. It gives you like 80% spell damage or whatever. And Pew gives you, again, like I said, reload speed, gun handling. I think movement speed is like, you get like a 60% or 80% movement speed at volatile level. So you're getting movement speed, you're getting reload speed, you're getting gun handling for like less recoil and stuff, you're getting spell damage. Like, yes, Buffmeister is very strong for this build, that's why we're using it, but you don't have to use it if you don't want to. This build does work with other spells like the fortifying sigil spell. And for the amulet that we're using, yet again, we're not using any chaotic or volatile anything, because these three items, or actually these 4 items here, I could not find good replacements for them as volatile or chaotic versions. So this is what we're using. This build shreds without having any volatile pieces on these 4 things here. So we're using a gun damage amulet with Stabbomancer power. These 2 attributes are basically pointless. They have status effect chance and loot luck, so we get extra loot luck there so we can find better stuff. If you can find a gun I could not find one. That's why we're using this one. I could not find a better gun damage Stabbomancer amulet. I found gun damage Graveborn that had pretty good stats, but it's Graveborn, so I couldn't find a good gun damage amulet for my class. Finding things for my class setup is the hardest part of this game right now for finding items. That's really the hardest part. Guns, no problem. Rings, no problem for the most part. When it comes to like amulets and class armor, impossible. The game thinks I'm every other class besides what I am. But this one's not bad though, so whenever you do melee damage, you have a 30% chance to instantly reload your gun, 100% of your gun's currently equipped ammo. So it's not bad. It's not the worst one you could get, but it's not the best one you could get for the amulet legendary effect here, but that's our gear so far. So then, really quickly, we're going to breeze through the skill tree here. So we are a Stabbomancer spell shot, as you guys probably could tell from our setup here. We are using From the Shadows as our main thing here. You can also use other ones, but I'm using From the Shadows because it's what I designed the build around. So we've got 5 out of 5 for Arsenal for the melee damage, spell damage, gun damage. We are using the haste at 3 out of 3 for that movement speed. The melee attack speed is okay, but that movement speed, 12%, gets doubled to 24% whenever you use a spell, and we cast spells all the time, so we're basically getting a 24% movement speed there as well. And then we have Swift Death to complement the movement speed that we're getting. So we get 10% extra damage dealt whenever we're at default walk speed, and it gets greater the faster we're moving. So if you're moving around a lot, you will, with the rubies, that's why the ruby spite's so good here, is it has that auto tracking, so you can kind of keep moving, keep running around. You can just kind of dodge and weave between enemies and just kind of keep moving, strafing side to side with high movement speed, and you'll get the Swift Death proccing all the time, and you don't need to worry about your accuracy because the ruby spite has that auto aim tracking. And then we're using 3 out of 3 for Nimble Fingers as well for the fire rate and spell damage boost here whenever you melee attack. So basically, that's what I said earlier, is your peg leg, your melee stuff is only going to be proccing extra effects like your fire rate, spell damage, movement speed, reload speed, all that stuff like that. So hitting an enemy with your melee and then just going ham on an obelisk or like a boss is the best thing to do. So then, like I said, we're getting a +1 to Spell Sniper from our armor over there. Same with the +1 to Double Knot. We're getting that because of our armor. But we've got 3 out of 3 for Magic Bullets. We've got 5 out of 5 for the reload speed. So these two are really good because the more you benefit your spell damage, this is why the Buffmeister does so well for our build, is this Buffmeister gives us like 80% spell damage. So that 80% spell damage will get added on top of our other spell weaving stacks and everything else like that. And Magic Bullets trades that spell damage in for, not trades it in, but adds the spell damage on. 45% of that gets added on as gun damage. So the higher your spell damage increases, the higher your gun damage increases. And the reload speed just allows you to shoot more bullets in a quicker time frame. So you're basically minimizing reload speeds as much as you can. Then we've also got Font of Mana, so your spell cooldown rate and action skill cooldown rate are increased by 20% and 15%. This is really good for both of those, but we're using it mainly to minimize our action skill cooldown rate because we want to be in From the Shadows as much as possible. Then we have Just Warming Up, so that way we have the Fate Maker gains increased fire rate every stack of spell weaving. So when you have full spell weaving, you get an extra 32% fire rate whenever you have full spell weaving stacks as well. So again, our whole build is focusing around fire rate, reload speed, movement speed, all that stuff like that, gun damage, things like that. Then we skip all the way down to high thread count for the +3. So now we have 8 total stacks of spell weaving here. So these two ones here, Imbued Weapon and Warcaster, you could technically swap these skills around. I have 5 out of 5 for Imbued Weapon because I want to maximize our gun damage here. But if you want to swap the 5 points in Imbued Weapon into Warcaster, you totally could. What Warcaster does is it basically will, it's a kill skill. So anytime you kill an enemy, there's a chance that you will instantly reload your currently equipped gun. So the more you're killing, the faster you're killing, the more this chance is. So if you put 5 out of 5 here, I think it's like a 60% chance or something like that. I forget exactly what it is, but it's a super high chance plus 2% extra per stack of spell weaving. That's a good one you can do. You can swap these two around so you can have 2 out of 5 in Imbued Weapon and 5 out of 5 in Warcaster. Super good combo there. And then, of course, we've got +1 in Double Knot, so we get 7% extra bonus damage based on our spell's critical hit thingy, all that stuff like that. You guys know how broken Double Knot is. So then you get +4% gun damage per stack of spell weaving from 1 slot, 1 kill, which is great. So with the 4% fire rate boost up here from Just Warming Up, we also get a +4% gun damage per stack of spell weaving from 1 slot, 1 kill. So you're also getting another 32% gun damage when full stack of spell weaving is up. And then the final thing is Sever the Thread. So gun critical hits have a chance to instantly reset all spell cooldowns with a short cooldown of that. So every 5 seconds, you have a 15% chance per gun crit to reset your spells. Because we're constantly getting crits even outside of From the Shadows, we will be resetting our spell cooldowns all the time. You will constantly be using your spells. If you're constantly using like the Fortifying Sigil or a Buffmeister or any spell you want to use, with this setup, you are going to be constantly relying on that spell, and you're going to be not relying on it in a bad sense, but like utilizing it. You're going to be utilizing that spell in the best way because you're going to be constantly popping it all the time. So it's really good here. And now for our hero stats, we're just going to blaze through these. These aren't even fully optimized, but we've got 40% Stabbomancer power here. You guys can see that there. We've got 30% spell shot power here. So we get an extra 30% spell damage per stack of spell weaving as well, which is insane because that again gets added into us as gun damage as well from the Magic Bullets skill. So then we've got really high loot luck as well. I don't have every lucky dice in the game, but I do have really high loot luck. We've also got 10% crit chance here, plus all of those other ones over there, with our spell crit chance being 248%. And then our Dark Magic Leech as well isn't the highest you could get it to. If you want to stop being less squishy in this build, again, you can increase your Dark Magic Leech as well even further to get even more health regen. Then we've got Strength at 35 out of 40 for 31% crit damage. We've got 38 out of 38 for Dexterity for 56% crit chance. 35 out of 42 for Intelligence, so we get 25% spell cooldown, so again, our spells get brought back pretty quickly. Then we have 20 out of 40 for the Wisdom, so we're not really buffing Wisdom at all because we don't use status damage here. So I mean, we do a little bit, but not a lot. We're mostly focusing on the actual gun damage and how hard they hit, so we're not putting points into Wisdom that much. Constitution, I don't think I put a single point in here. I think I actually have a -2 from my Pack Rat backstory as well, so we're at 18 out of 38 here, so we are extra squish on this one. So we only have a +20% max HP and ward here. So if you do want to be less squishy, you can put more points into Constitution for this build. And then we have 30 out of 45 for the attunement, so we have 20% skill cooldown, so our skills are always cooling down super duper fast. And that's it. That's our skills and our hero stats and everything like that. Now for the myth rank. The myth rank, I'm only leveled 224, so I haven't put that many points into it. I've only gotten like, what, 3 or 4 of them maxed out per section or something like that. So I'm going to slowly mouse over each section so you guys can kind of see exactly what is being buffed in each category. Since you can't turn off myth rank in this game for some reason, those are what we have added as a bonus. So the myth rank does help. Yes, I do have points spent in here, but I haven't maxed everything out. I'm not super OP for myth rank yet, so until we get the option to turn it off for making build setups and things like that, build guides and whatever, I'm just going to be showing you guys how I've invested my points, so that way you guys can kind of compare to how you guys have it set up and just kind of know what you have to look forward to when you get down further in the trees. So that's it. That is the build. But that will go ahead and do it for today's video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for hanging out. If you guys are new here, once again, feel free to hit that subscribe button on your way out. Click that little like button as well. It means a lot to me when I get a bunch of likes. It helps out with the YouTube algorithm as well. And if you don't want to miss out on any future uploads, go ahead and click that bell notification down below as well. And if you guys do want to come hang out with us on Twitch, I will leave the link in the description down below. We'd love to have you over there. That'd be freaking awesome if you guys did come stop by and say hey. And like I said before, if you guys do really enjoy my content, feel free to go over to the Patreon and subscribe over there for as little as $5 a month. It's very generous of you guys to do that, and it helps me out greatly as well. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I will see you at the next video. Bye, guys.